A couple other things broke, though, the same day. First of all, Elliott Broidy, who was a top Trump fundraiser, has been charged in an embezzlement case of a Malaysian investment fund. Here's the backstory, I guess is the way I should put it. But this guy is a California businessman. He's in the arms business. He is a defense contractor, which is a misnomer if ever there was one. These people are not about defense. These people are about terror and murder and death and destruction. Yeah, the big ones and the little ones. And this guy, Broidy, was one of the little pissy clogs in this huge, nearly $1 trillion expenditure that this country goes through every goddamn year to satisfy these so-called defense contractors. But he's been charged. He was a top fundraiser for Trump. He's been charged in connection with a foreign influence operation that included lobbying the Trump gang to help Malaysian and Chinese interests. Right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Chinese, but Trump is always busting up on the Chinese. That doesn't mean shit. It means nothing. But this guy's name is Elliott Broidy, another fat white man. Why are these guys always so bloated and grotesque looking, right? But it's Elliott Broidy. He's charged with a count of conspiring to violate foreign lobbying laws. And that's according to a court filing that became public yesterday, Thursday. Prosecutors from the Justice Department's Public Integrity Section and its Election Crimes Branch. Now, just keep that in mind. That's where some of this investigation came from. Election Crimes Branch. You know, when King Rat continues to talk about how the Democrats are trying to steal the election, which is horseshit of the highest odor, not order, odor, you have to keep in mind that almost every single case of election theft has been as a result of efforts by the neo-fascist Republican Christians in this country. They're the ones who do it. Domestic terrorism, they're the ones who do it. But I digress. Anyway, this prosecutors accuse this freak, Broidy, of accepting $6 million from an unnamed foreign client, an unnamed foreign client to lobby administration officials, read the Nazi Jew Jared Kushner and his rat partner, Stephen Miller, and the Nazi Christians who cluster around Trump like flies around well, you know around what. Anyway, they were conspiring to lobby administration officials to end a federal investigation, of course, into the looting of a Malaysian development fund. It's known as IMDb. And they were accused of trying to win the extradition of a Chinese national from the United States. Take him back to China to do what? God only knows. Now, while the foreign client was not identified in this filing, people familiar with the case said it was the Malaysian financier Joe Low. That's his name, Joe Low. Not Joe Low, not Low Joe. Joe, oh, never mind. Anyway, he's the one who federal authorities say masterminded a scheme to loot this development fund, this Malaysian development fund. Anyway, Broidy, the white, ugly, overweight bastard who was indicted, I guess indicted. Federal prosecutors charged him, but he's long been a top Republican fundraiser. But he had retreated from politics after he pled guilty 11 years ago to an unrelated pension fund bribery case. You notice this about associates of King Rat? Have you noticed this? Almost every single one of them is a goddamn criminal, either caught or yet to be caught. But this is who Trump runs with. He's such a vile bastard. Everybody that Trump is associated with, including his degenerate family members, they're all criminals, one way or the other. So after King Rat emerged as the Republican presidential nominee in 2016, Broidy just about lost his shit. He became among the first major donors to throw his support to King Rat. And this was at a time when, if you remember, most elite Republican donors were staying away. You remember all that. You remember scum like Lindsey Graham Cracker and the rest of the Republicans were calling Trump everything but a human being. And they were right at the time. Of course, Lindsey Graham Cracker has done a complete backflip now, as has this scummy, turtle-looking asshole Mitch McConnell. But that was then. This is now. So Republican donors were staying away, but Mr. Broidy positioned himself to become an influential figure in Washington following Trump's victory over Hillary Clinton. I mean, Trump will reward people who give him money until he decides it's time to throw them under the bus. But Broidy marketed his connections to King Rat to politicians and business executives and governments around the world, including some governments who are run by dictators and authoritarians and criminals and killers and, Trump style leaders. That's who Broidy was out pitching himself as somebody who had, Trump's ear. Oh my God. And he won big contracts for his defense firm from, here's a surprise, the United Arab Emirates, the country that made a deal with Netanyahu, right? Thanks to Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia, too, of course. United Arab Emirates, which is a cesspool of corruption, an absolute cesspool of snakes and liars and thieves. So consequently, you would expect Trump or people close to Trump, including his Nazi Jew son-in-law, to be into their eyeballs with all of this corruption, as they are. So what Broidy did, he arranged meetings and public affairs efforts in D.C. that were intended to help the clients of his defense firm. I see. Isn't that nice? Once you have the ear and the attention of King Rat, you can do just about anything as long as it's, good attention. Once King Rat turns against you, well, get ready to go do a term in a federal prison, which appears is what is about to happen to Mr. Broidy. Anyway, Broidy was paid by various Americans, some of whom were charged in all sorts of crime previously, of course. And those people include, here's the name, Nikki Lum Davis, a political fundraiser who pled guilty and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. That's probably how Broidy got his tit caught in a ringer, right? It's because all these rats always turn on each other eventually. You've noticed that. The charge against Broidy was detailed in a criminal information, which, according to the New York Times, often is filed in cases in which a guilty plea has already been entered. And, of course, Broidy's representatives ignored a request from the New York Times for comment. Well, what's he going to do? Step up to a New York Times reporter and say, yeah, hell yeah, I'm a thug and a thief and a liar and a scumsucker just like the president. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity.
But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.